Welcome to AudioCert, where the official study guides are brought to life. Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission, as always, is to really cut through the noise and get you the insights you need fast and effectively. Today, we're diving into something really critical for anyone serious about digital security. It's the EC Council Computer Hacking Forensic Investigator Certification, the CHFI. We're focusing on exam 31249. Now, this certification, it isn't just another piece of paper. It's really about equipping professionals like you with the skills, the mindset, the tools to handle the increasingly complex world of cybercrime. Think of it like getting your detective's badge for the digital world. Being ready to piece together the clues when systems get breached, data gets stolen, or networks are compromised. You're the one stepping onto the digital crime scene.
That's a perfect analogy, the digital detective. And, the stakes are incredibly high. Computer forensics, it's not just technical work. It's fundamental, really, to securing justice, to understanding what actually happened in a digital incident. It's all about making sure that when a cybercrime happens, we have this undeniable, legally solid way to reconstruct events, find who's responsible, and present that evidence so it holds up in court under intense scrutiny. It's about trust, really, trust in our digital world. So yeah, this isn't just passing an exam, it's about upholding digital integrity.
Exactly. And to really get those skills down, we're doing a deep focused dive today into Chapter 14 of the CHFI Study Guide, Forensic Investigations Using EnCase. Now, if you've spent any time at all in computer forensics, you've definitely heard of EnCase. It's not just a tool. Many consider it a foundational skill, almost indispensable for anyone aiming for the CHFI. So what makes EnCase such a big deal, especially for this certification?
Well, EnCase, which comes from guidance software, it's earned that industry standard label for some very good reasons. Its capabilities, its reliability, they're really well established. You'll find it pretty much everywhere. Top law enforcement like the FBI, Scotland Yard, government agencies, universities training the next generation of forensic experts. Its widespread use just tells you a lot about its power, its legal robustness, and how it keeps adapting to new threats.
That's quite the endorsement. Makes you wonder how it got there. Maybe a quick look back at its history. Sometimes understanding the evolution helps grasp the present. Okay, let's do a quick timeline. The first version, EnCase Forensic Edition version 1, came out February 20, 1998. Back then, pretty groundbreaking, but Windows only. It handled the common file systems of the time, FAT12, FAT16, FAT32, and NTFS. Now, jump forward almost 10 years to January 10, 2007. That's when EnCase version 6 dropped. And that was a huge leap. It went multi-platform Windows, Linux, even UNIX, and crucially, it expanded support to over 20 file systems. Things like TiVo even. Plus, it added features like analyzing Microsoft Virtual PC and VMware images, and support for PDA's personal digital assistants. Remember those? Shows how fast things were changing.
And that development hasn't stopped. Guidance software, now OpenText, they're constantly adding features, refining things with each version, which is absolutely crucial because, digital media changes constantly. Think hard drives to SSDs, mobile devices, cloud storage, and the sheer amount of data just keeps exploding. So the tools have to keep up making sure investigators can actually handle these massive digital landscapes effectively. It's a constant race.
Which brings us right to our mission for this deep dive. Our goal for you, the listener, isn't just to hear about EnCase. We want you to get really familiar with it, its specific language, its core functions, and, importantly, why it's so critical in the forensic process. Yeah, it'll help with the CHFI exam, definitely, but it's bigger than that. It's about building that understanding so you can walk into a courtroom, give expert testimony, and explain your findings with confidence, backed by solid evidence from a tool like EnCase. So yeah, get ready. We're about to explore the ins and outs of this powerhouse tool. All right. Let's dive right into what I think is the absolute foundation of any digital investigation, the evidence file. When we say evidence file here, what are we actually talking about, and why is it so fundamental?
Perfect starting point. An evidence file basically is a highly specialized bit-by-bit copy of a suspect's original digital media. Could be a hard drive, USB stick, phone storage, SSD, you name it. But it's not just any old copy. It's created in a unique format using forensic software, like EnCase. Think of it like creating a perfect, forensically pristine, frozen snapshot of every single bit on that original device. At that specific moment, every sector, every byte, exactly as it was.
Okay, frozen snapshot helps visualize it, but why go through all that trouble? Why not just work directly on the original drive? Seems, simpler.
And that's the core question, isn't it? It underpins all forensic best practices. The number one reason, the non-negotiable reason, for creating this evidence file is to prevent any contamination or alteration of the original media. This isn't just like a technical detail. It's a legal must-have. Think about it. If an investigator works directly on the suspect's drive, Even just booting it up, connecting it, opening a file, that will change things. Metadata gets updated, logs get written, maybe crucial deleted data gets overwritten. And a savvy defense attorney, oh, they'll jump all over that. They'll argue the investigator tampered with the evidence, broke the chain of custody, and just like that, your findings could be thrown out, the whole case jeopardized. The evidence file is that clean, unchallengeable replica. The original stays untouched, pristine, available for verification. It's a legal firewall.
Protecting the original for admissibility. Makes total sense. Okay, so we know why. Now, how do we actually make these critical snapshots? What are the main ways to acquire an image? Well, one of the classic ways involves using a forensically clean DOS boot disk, or CD. You boot the suspect's computer into this sterile DOS environment, which is specifically designed not to write anything to the suspect's drives. From there, you acquire the image. Minimal interference.
Right. And building on that, you often see Linux Live CDs used now, specialized ones like Kano PVIX or Helix, often loaded with forensic tools, including Linen, which is Linux EnCase. The absolute key with these Linux distros is making sure they don't automatically mount drives as read-write. They need to mount read-only to protect the evidence. It's the same principle as the DOS disk, but with more modern capabilities. You mentioned earlier methods like direct disk-to-disk or parallel cables. Yeah, those are pretty much history now. Too slow, too error-prone for today's data volumes.
And what about for investigators who prefer working in, say, a Windows environment, but still need that forensic integrity? I know hardware write blockers are essential there. How do they fit in?
Hardware write blockers are absolutely indispensable, especially for Windows acquisitions. They're physical devices, like the FastBlock connecting via USB, FireWire, sometimes older IDE or SCSI. You plug the suspect's drive into the write blocker, then the write blocker into your forensic workstation. Its job is vital. It physically prevents any write commands from reaching the suspect drive. It forces read-only mode. This is critical because Windows, by default, just starts writing stuff the moment you connect a drive, updating access times, creating caches, log entries. The write blocker stops all that potential contamination. For many agencies, using a certified write blocker isn't just recommended, it's mandatory. It's that legal firewall again. And there are even more advanced options, like the Enterprise Edition of EnCase, which can image drives over a network using something called Safe Secure Authentication for EnCase. But the goal is always the same. Protect that original evidence.
Okay, so we've made this pristine evidence file. What's actually inside it? What makes its format special compared to just, copying files?
That's a really important distinction. The core thing is that an EnCase evidence file is a bit-by-bit copy, a bitstream copy. This is way more than just copying visible files. Bit-by-bit means every single bit, from the very start of the physical drive to the very end, including all the unused space, deleted space, even areas the OS doesn't normally see. It's all duplicated perfectly. And that's critical because it captures not just the active stuff, but the digital ghosts, deleted files, deleted folders, and crucially, slack space.
Slack space, you mentioned that. Sounds intriguing. What exactly is it, and why is it such a potential goldmine?
It really can be. So imagine the smallest unit of disk space the OS uses is a cluster. Let's say it's 4 kilobytes, 4096 bytes. Now, if you save a file that's only 1 kilobyte long, 124 bytes, it still takes up that whole 4 KB cluster. But it only uses the first 24 bytes, the remaining 372 bytes in that cluster. That's slack space. And usually, that space isn't wiped clean. It can hold fragments, remnants of whatever data used to be in that cluster before. We've seen cases where deleted email drafts, document fragments, maybe a crucial account number or a password snippet just linger there in the slack space. EnCase can often recover this even if the original file is long gone. Capturing the whole physical drive, including slack, can uncover that smoking gun.
Wow, okay. So it's the echoes of past data, too. What else gets packed into this special EnCase file?
Besides the complete bitstream data, the EnCase evidence file header stores vital case information. Things like the investigator's name, the case number, the exact date and time of acquisition, details about the hardware used, any notes made during the process. This metadata is absolutely essential for building that robust chain of custody timeline. It tracks who handled the evidence, when, where, what they did. This unbroken chain is crucial for court. This header information is really what distinguishes an EnCase image from, say, a raw DD image, which is just the bits without this forensic context. But, and this is key, even with this extra info, the integrity of the copy data itself within the file is maintained cryptographically.
Got it. Deep dive into the contents. Now, practically speaking, how do we recognize these files, and what tools do we need to actually open them up?
Right. EnCase evidence files have a very specific naming convention. They use the extension #tag that starts with E01, goes to E02, all the way up to E99. If you need more than 99 segments, it cleverly switches to letters like EAA, EAB, EAC, and so on. To open and analyze these, you generally need specialized forensic software. EnCase itself, obviously. But other major tools like Access Data's Forensic Toolkit, FTK, or X-Ways Forensics can also read EnCase files. That interoperability is pretty helpful. And of course, if the file was password protected during acquisition, which is common for sensitive cases, you'll need that password to get in.
Okay, moving on to integrity. Expert, when you're getting ready for court or even just building your case internally, proving that data hasn't been changed or corrupted since acquisition, that's not just nice to have, it's fundamental, right? How does EnCase guarantee this?
Absolutely fundamental. You need unshakable proof the evidence is trustworthy. EnCase uses multiple layers to provide that assurance. One core method is the cyclic redundancy check, or CRC. A CRC is basically a mathematical check performed on a block of data to detect accidental changes. During acquisition, EnCase calculates a CRC for every block of 64 sectors on the original media. If there's a problem reading a sector, maybe the disk is damaged or something went wrong during duplication, you'll get a CRC error for that block. It's like an early warning system flagging potential issues. It was mandatory before version 5, and it's still a key part of its error checking.
So CRC is like a quick check on smaller pieces, but then there's the big one, the digital fingerprint, the message digest 5 or MD5 hash. How does that boost our confidence? Why is it so important?
The MD5 hash is really the ultimate digital fingerprint. It's a cryptographic algorithm applied to an entire data stream, a file, a whole drive. It generates a unique fixed-length string, usually 32 hexadecimal characters. The key thing here is its incredible uniqueness and sensitivity. The chance of two different datasets producing the exact same MD5 hash is astronomically small. We're talking 1 and 2 to the power of 128. I mean, you've got a way better chance of winning the lottery multiple times. Or two random people having the same DNA than two different files having the same MD5 hash. Change just one single bit in a huge file, and the MD5 hash changes completely. It makes it incredibly reliable for detecting any alteration.
Wow, that uniqueness is almost hard to wrap your head around, but I seem to remember hearing some criticism about MD5. Something about a birthday attack. Does that make it less reliable for forensics, especially in court?
That's a really important point and often misunderstood. It's true, cryptographers have found theoretical ways, like the birthday attack, to intentionally create new collisions under lab conditions where two different inputs generate the same hash. SHA-1 has faced similar issues. However, for practical forensic work, MD5 is still extremely accurate and widely accepted for verifying if two existing datasets are identical. The crucial difference is this. The attacks are about generating collisions, not finding one for an existing arbitrary piece of evidence. A defense attorney might bring it up, but the expert's response is that the practical impossibility of generating a specific collision for this specific evidence on demand is what matters. We're proving the integrity of an existing hash, not creating a new one. While newer hashes like SHA-2 are being adopted for future proofing, EnCase's use of both CRC and MD5 provides a very strong, layered, legally defensible approach to ensuring data integrity. It's about multiple layers of cryptographic proof.
So it's like a double check, ensuring maximum integrity for the actual data. Let's dig into hashing just a bit more. What's the general idea, and is there a subtle but really important difference between the hash of the whole EnCase file versus the hash of the original drive data?
Excellent question, and yes, that distinction is vital. The general concept of hashing is simple. Take data, run it through a one-way math process, get a fixed-length string, the hash. Exact data always gives the same hash. Change anything, even a tiny bit, and the hash changes drastically. That's why it's so good for detecting alterations. While other tools might offer choices like SHA-1 or SHA-256, EnCase traditionally relies heavily on MD5 for its evidence file verification. Now, that crucial distinction, the overall EnCase evidence file itself will not have the same MD5 hash as the original suspect drive. Why? Because, like you said, the evidence file container includes extra header information, examiner name, case number, those CRC values, even its own MD5 hash in the header. That extra stuff changes the overall data stream. But, and this is the absolutely critical part for forensic integrity, the blocks of data inside the evidence file will have the identical MD5 hash as the blocks on the original suspect drive. When EnCase shows you a hash value inside the software, it's showing the hash of those core data blocks, the actual evidence, not the hash of the container file. This proves you're working with an exact, verified copy of the original data without ever touching the original. It gives you that confidence.
Okay, we've covered the what of evidence files and the how of ensuring integrity. Now let's get practical. Actually acquiring that image forensically. We've mentioned DOS, Linux, write blockers, network. Let's walk through the steps, starting with maybe the classic DOS boot disk method. Still relevant sometimes. Definitely still relevant, especially for older systems or as a solid backup method. Typically, you'd start by getting a minimal boot floppy image from guidance software. Then you use EnCase's Create Boot Disk tool to write that image to a blank floppy. The key final step is copying the EnCase DOS executable from your main EnCase installation onto that floppy. That gives the boot disk the tools it needs.
And that term forensically sound is critical here. It means this boot disk is specifically built not to write anything to the suspect's drives. Often this involved modifying a standard Windows 98 startup disk using a hex editor, changing all C, references to A. A small change, but vital to prevent accidental writes during boot.
Since floppy drives are pretty rare now, converting that floppy image to a bootable CD or USB is more common, right? Using tools like Nero or Rufus. Exactly. For a CD, you'd use Nero's CD-ROM boot option, point at the boot floppy, add the files, and burn. CDs are faster to hold way more data, 700 MB versus 1.44 MB, so you can add more tools and work with modern PCs. It's just more practical.
Now, while booting from a forensic CD or USB is ideal, sometimes you might need to use the suspect's computer itself, maybe if it was found running. Extreme caution is needed then. You absolutely must never boot to the suspect's OS. Standard procedure often involves physically disconnecting the suspect drives first. Then, power on, go straight into the BIOS setup, change the boot order to CD floppy first, and crucially, disable the hard drive as a boot option altogether. Save the changes, power off, reconnect the drives carefully. Then power on again and recheck the BIOS boot order immediately. Sometimes reconnecting drives resets things. You have to be vigilant to avoid accidentally booting the suspect OS.
Okay, precautions taken. We're booting successfully from our EnCase DOS disk or CD. What's the step-by-step acquisition process look like then? Right after it boots, you usually get a menu. Maybe load zip drive drivers, or do not load. Unless you're saving to a zip drive, pick do not load. The next menu might have options like USB HDD acquisition, USB HD destination, clean boot, or return to main menu. If you're imaging an internal drive to another drive, internal or external, you'll likely choose clean boot. That just launches the n.exe program directly.
Okay, now you're at this light blue screen showing the DOS and EnCase versions. By default, drives are locked to prevent writes. A really critical prep step. Make sure your destination drive is physically larger than the suspect drive. Remember, the evidence file adds headers, CRCs, hashes, so it needs more space. Also, for older DOS EnCase, the destination needs to be FD32 formatted. You should always label your destination volume, like label X, evidence drive, just to be sure. But never touch the suspect drive. Keep the suspect drive locked, read only, and unlock only the destination drive for writing.
Then you select the acquisition mode. I hear ATA mode is usually recommended over BIOS mode. Why is that?
Yeah, that's important. ATA mode is generally better because it lets EnCase see the disk at a lower level, including the host protected area, or HPA. BIOS mode relies on the computer's BIOS, which might hide or ignore the HPA. And the HPA is significant. It's a hidden area manufacturers sometimes use for utilities. But savvy users, maybe criminals, could hide data there. A hidden OS, encrypted files, malware. Imaging in ATA mode ensures you capture that potential hidden evidence. You check behind the false wall, basically.
Okay, mode selected, HPA covered. Next up is hashing the suspect drive before you acquire.
Right. Hashing beforehand is best practice for verifying integrity later. But be warned, it can take a long time, hours, even days for big drives. EnCase will calculate the hash and offer to save it as a text file to your destination media. Always save it there, not a floppy. Now, in urgent situations, agency policy might allow acquiring first, then hashing the original drive later, but always before any analysis. The key is getting that fingerprint before anything could change.
So everything's ready. We hit acquire. What happens next in cases, right? Select acquire. Choose the suspect drive by its disk number, like disk 1, not the drive letter, like C. Then type in the destination path and file name, like D casefiles image 01.e01. EnCase then asks for chain of custody info, case number, your name, evidence number, description, notes. This goes into the evidence file header. You'll also get asked about compression. Compression saves space on the destination, but it really slows down the acquisition. If speed matters, you might skip it. Usually, you accept the defaults for password, blank unless needed, sectors, and max file size. Then you start it and you wait. Could be a while. Crucial final step. Manually record the MD5 hash EnCase gives you at the end into your evidence log. Don't forget that.
Now, besides that main DOS method, there are alternatives for specific situations, like parallel cable acquisition. If you have an old laptop with only a parallel port, maybe. Requires two PCs, the cable, DOS boot disk matching EnCase versions. Suspect machine runs in server mode. You add a parallel port device in your EnCase G. But seriously, it is painfully slow. Hours, days, pretty much obsolete now.
Okay, probably avoid that one. What about network acquisition? Using a crossover cable, faster.
Can be faster than parallel, yes, but has its own challenges. Network crossover acquisition needs two PCs, the crossover cable, often yellow, and a special network boot disk for the suspect PC with the right DOS and IC drivers. Finding those DOS drivers can be tough. Specialized network boot disks with lots of drivers built in are better. Boot the suspect PC, detect the NIC. On your forensic workstation, add a network crossover device and EnCase. You might get a firewall pop-up on your workstation. You'll need to allow the connection. Speed depends heavily on the NICs, 10, 100, 1,000 LEPs, and the cable quality, DD5, CD6. It's faster, but maybe not as fast as direct hardware methods. These DOS methods, though foundational, have limits like needing FAT32 destinations. That's where Linen really helps. It's guidance software's tool for Linux live CDs like Helix or Kano PP-Aux. You add Linen to the Linux ISO using tools like Ultra ISO, then burn it or make it bootable USB. The big win. These Linux live CDs usually mount drives read-only by default. Forensically sound right away, no extra steps needed. Boot the suspect machine, open a root terminal, navigate to the CD USB mount point, and run .linen.
That default read-only is a huge plus, but Linux names drives differently than Windows, right? HDA is EDA?
Yeah.
That sounds like a potential trap.
Oh, absolutely. Crucial point for the exam in real life. Linux uses conventions like HTA, HTB, HDC, HDD for older IDE drives, SDB, SDC, and so on, up to SDZ, then etc. for, say, CSI USB drives. Partitions add numbers, 1 to 4 for primary, 5+ for logical within an extended partition. So HDD3 is the third primary on the first IDE drive. SDB9 is a logical partition on the second SATA USB drive. Usually you acquire the whole physical drive, dev to devsdb, not just partitions, dev to 3. Critical warning. Understand Linux naming. It's vital for the exam and even more vital to avoid accidentally wiping the wrong drive in the field. A very common mistake area.
Okay, good warning. Let's circle back to the hardware write blockers like FastBlock. We touched on them, but can you walk through using one in Windows since it's so standard?
Sure. The goal is connecting the suspect drive to Windows strictly read-only. Prevent Windows from writing anything. The process is pretty smooth. Connect the suspect drive to the FastBlock using the right cable, IDE, SATA, etc. Connect the FastBlock to your forensic workstation, usually USB or FireWire. Launch EnCase. Start a new case. Go to File, Add Device. Choose Local Device. EnCase will list the suspect drive connected via the FastBlock. Add it to your case. Then in the Entries tab, just right-click the device and select Acquire. It's reliable, usually fast, works in a familiar Windows environment, and provides top-tier forensic integrity. Highly recommended.
Right. Evidence acquired safely. Now the fun part. Using EnCase to analyze it, getting the software set up seems easy enough with nsetup.exe.
Yeah, installation is usually straightforward. For licensing and piracy prevention, EnCase uses a hardware dongle. Used to be parallel port, now almost always USB. That dongle is your key. Plug it in, install the software. You can check your version and dongle status under Help Leg Out EnCase. But the real skill is mastering the interface. It's powerful, but there's a lot there, especially as they keep adding features to handle bigger drives and faster searches. It's like learning to fly a complex aircraft.
Makes sense. Every investigation starts with a new case. What's that initial EnCase options screen require? What info is essential?
When you create a new case, 4 fields are mandatory right away. First, the case name usually follow your organization's policy, maybe like TYYYYYNN. Second, your examiner name, you have to put this in. Then, an export folder and a temporary folder. They default to subfolders in your EnCase directory, but check the temporary folder location. Make sure there's enough free disk space on that drive. EnCase can generate a lot of temp data, indexes, search results. Running out of space mid-analysis is frustrating. Avoidable, though.
Okay, case open. Now we see the main EnCase interface. You called it the investigator's cockpit. 4 main panes. Can you walk us through those?
Good analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where you see and control everything. Top left, you have the tree pane. This is your main navigation, like Windows Explorer, but for forensic evidence. Shows disks, folders, subfolders. It has several important subtabs. Cases. Manage multiple open cases. Home. Customizable view. Entries. Default view shows the file structure. Bookmarks. Where your tagged evidence lives. Search hits. Shows keyword search results. Email. History. Web cache. Specialized views. Devices, lists connected data devices, secure storage. For encrypted file system, EFS, analysis, Keywords. See that little pentagon or home plate icon next to folders? Click that, and it filters the table pane to show only files in that specific directory. Super useful for cutting clutter.
Okay, then top right is the table pane. This is where you see the details of the files based on what you clicked in the tree pane.
Exactly. The table pane shows files and subfolders from the tree pane selection in columns with lots of metadata. It also has its own key subtabs. Table, default list view, name, size, dates, etc. Report, structured view with path, location info, gallery. Awesome for quickly viewing images, shows thumbnails. Timeline. A forensic goldmine shows creation, written, accessed, modified, deleted times, helps reconstruct activity precisely. Disk. A visual map showing which sectors on the disk hold the selected data. Colorful blocks. Code. For running scripts in case of scripting language. Then bottom left, the view pane. This sounds like where you get to see the actual data itself. You got it. The view pane shows the content of selected items in different formats. Lets you really examine the bits and bytes. Subtabs include text. View plain text content. Hex. Raw hexadecimal view. Essential for low-level analysis. Finding hidden stuff. Picture. Shows the actual image if you selected an image file. Report. More detailed file folder info like security IDs, SIDs, and access control lists, ACLs for NTFS permissions. Console. Shows output from running scripts. Details. Maps data to physical sectors and logical clusters. Very granular.
And finally, bottom right, the filter pane. Sounds powerful for searching and refining data views.
It is incredibly powerful. The filter pane helps you zero in its subtabs, scripts. Find and run scripts for advanced searches, automation, specific artifact analysis. Really extends EnCase. Filters. Use pre-built or custom filters to narrow your view. Use the only deleted files in a date range. Conditions. Build the logical blocks for complex custom filters. Queries. Combine filters and conditions for super targeted searches. Text styles. Customized text appearance. Essential for managing huge data sets efficiently.
Beyond those four main panes, any other key interface parts to know? You mentioned a view menu.
Right, the view menu on the top bar is important. It lets you manage things like your keywords list, define file signatures, handle hash sets like known good-bad file lists, classify file types, configure file viewers, check security IDs, manage application descriptions. It also lets you choose which subtabs are visible in the main pane so you can customize your cockpit, reduce clutter. And then there's the device tab. Only appears once a case is open. This is how you add new evidence sources. You can add local devices, like drives via write blockers, connect old Palm Pilots or PDAs, set up parallel port devices, rarely, or network crossover devices. Key thing, you usually add entire disks here, not just partitions, to make sure you get everything unallocated space, hidden areas, the works.
Navigating seems pretty intuitive then. Click the plus signs in the tree pane to expand drives, folders, and that little pentagon icon helps filter the table pane view.
Yeah, that pentagon all files trigger is great. Click it, it turns green, and the table pane shows only files folders in that directory. Click again to see the wider view. Simple, but effective for focusing.
And don't forget the status bar. Bottom right corner shows progress for long tasks like hashing or searching, essential for knowing what's happening and how long it might take. Okay, acquired the evidence, comfortable with the interface. Now the real investigation starts. Searching. EnCase is built to sift through potentially massive amounts of data efficiently. That search capability must be constantly improving, right?
Absolutely. With multi-terabyte drives being common, efficient searching is non-negotiable. You'd just drown otherwise. And the core of EnCase search is keywords. Keywords have actually evolved in EnCase. Older versions had only case-specific keywords, then global keywords. Now, you get both. Case-level keywords saved with just the current case, perfect for unique terms, and global keywords saved in a keywords.ini file, usable across all your cases. Great for standard lists of suspicious terms you use often.
So these keywords can be words, phrases, even those hex strings you mentioned, and they are case-sensitive.
Exactly. Very flexible words, phrases, secret plans, specific hex strings like malware code. And yes, by default, they are case-sensitive. Secret is different from secret, but you can toggle that off if needed. Adding them is easy. For case level, use the Keywords tab in the tree pane, right-click New. For global, go via the View menu. You type the term, give it a name, and choose options like case-sensitive, Unicode, maybe G1 key.
G1 key, what's that for?
G1 key is general one-key entry extraction. It's mostly for dealing with certain non-standard character sets or encodings, maybe in older files, where a normal Unicode or ASCII search might miss things. Usually you stick with case-sensitive or Unicode, but G1 key is there for tricky encoding situations.
I can imagine having huge lists of keywords for different case types, fraud, hacking, etc. How do you keep those organized?
Grouping is key. EnCase has default folders under keywords like examples and global, which has subfolders like email, web terms. These are grouped keywords. But you can and should create your own custom subfolders too, maybe organized by suspect, crime type, communication type. Helps manage complex cases and deploy the right terms quickly. Turns a messy list into an organized library.
Okay, keywords organized. How do you select which ones to actually use in a search? Simple checkboxes. Click the square box next to a keyword or a group folder. A solid blue check means that specific keyword is active. If you check a whole folder, you get a blue check with a white background, means everything inside is selected. If only some things in a folder are checked, you see a blue check with a gray background. Gives you a quick visual confirmation of what's included. And then finally, running the search itself. First, select what you want to search in the Entries tab, the whole drive, or specific files folders. Searching everything takes longer, obviously. Then go to Tools, Search. In the dialog, check Selected Files Only if you picked specific items. Always check Selected Keywords Only to use just the terms you activated. Set other options like case sensitivity if needed, hit Start, and watch the status bar at the bottom right.
And when the search finishes, which can take time, the results pop up in the Search Hits tab. It neatly shows how many hits each keyword got, often broken down by where they were found. Makes it easy to see which terms were most fruitful and where to dig deeper.
All right, search complete, we have hits. Now we need to make sense of it and prep for reporting. This is where bookmarking comes in, right? What exactly is a bookmark in EnCase?
Exactly. Bookmarking is crucial. A bookmark in EnCase isn't just a placeholder. It's a carefully tagged pointer to a specific pertinent finding. Think of it like putting a digital sticky note on a piece of evidence, adding your notes. These bookmarks are what you'll use to build your formal report. They provide direct, verifiable links back to the key facts and artifacts supporting your conclusions. You manage them in the Bookmarks tab in the tree pane.
And they're not just generic tags, they have categories.
Right. EnCase uses 6 main categories: text, picture, integers, dates, windows, and styles. Each has subcategories. Like under Windows, you might have partition entry, registry key. When you bookmark, you pick the right type and subcategory. Helps organize things. And a really important ethical point: bookmark all relevant evidence, incriminating and exonerating. Your role is unbiased. A fair report reflects the whole truth found.
That unbiased approach is vital. So how do you actually create a bookmark? Seems like you could do it from lots of places. You can, from text, images, disk sectors. But often, it's easiest right from the Search Hits tab. You'd go to Search Hits, click a keyword, select a specific hit in the table pane. The content shows up in the View pane below. Highlight the important text or data in the View pane, right-click it, choose Bookmark Data, then you pick the data type subcategory, and crucially, you add your own notes, context, observations. These notes are invaluable later.
And as you collect bookmarks, organization is key. Create subfolders under the main Bookmarks tab, maybe by suspect, communication type, timeline event, whatever makes sense for your case. Once a bookmark is created, you can just drag and drop it into the right subfolder, keeps everything neat and structured. Then you just go to the Bookmark tab to see your organized findings. Good organization is a sign of a pro.
Okay, expert. Now for the really cool part, recovering data suspects thought was gone forever. Digital archaeology. Let's start with the older FAT partitions. FAT 12, FAT 16, FAT 32. How do they handle files and deletion? Right, FAT is foundational. FAT 12 for floppies. FAT 16 had that 2 GB limit. FAT 32 became super popular for USB drives, older externals, because it worked everywhere. All FAT systems rely on 2 tables. FAT1, the main map tracking where file clusters are, and FAT2, a backup copy.
Now, deletion in FAT is deceptively simple for the OS, but great for us. When a file gets deleted, the clusters it used are not wiped. The entries for those clusters in the FAT tables, FAT1 and FAT2, are just marked as available. The OS says, okay, this space can be reused. But the actual data, it's still physically there on the disk until something new overwrites those specific clusters. If they haven't been reused, EnCase can often recover the deleted file or folder perfectly, and countless times these deleted files contain the crucial evidence.
That's amazing. How does EnCase show you if a deleted file is recoverable or if it's too late? It uses clear icons in the entries view. A deleted file that's likely recoverable shows up with a red circle with a diagonal line through it. If it's been overwritten and is probably gone for good, you see a red X. For folders, a yellow folder with a red X means deleted but not overwritten. Contents might be recoverable. A gray folder with a red X means deleted and overwritten. To recover something with the red circle line, you just right-click it, choose Copy and Erase. A wizard pops up asking if you want the logical file, just the active data, or the entire physical file, which includes that valuable slack space.
Ah yes, slack space, worth revisiting. Remember, it's the unused part of the last cluster allocated to a file. If a cluster is 4 KB and the file ends after 1 KB, the other 3 KB is slack space. That space often holds fragments of whatever file used to be there, bits of old documents, partial images, passwords, stuff the user thought was deleted. EnCase recovering the entire physical file grabs this slack space too. It's like finding torn pages from an old book hidden in a new one.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift to the more modern NTFS file system. How does recovery work there? What are its main advantages over FAT? NTFS was Microsoft's big upgrade, lots of advantages. File folder security permissions, which FAT lacks. Optional encrypted file system, EFS, for built-in encryption. Journaling for better crash recovery. And instead of FA tables, it uses the master file table, MFT, to track files much more efficiently, especially on huge drives. No 2 GB file limit either.
Visually, EnCase uses similar icons for deleted items in NTFS as it does in FAT, the red circle with a line for recoverable, the red X for overwritten. When you recover a deleted folder using copy and erase on NTFS, be really careful. Make sure only the checkbox for the folder you want is checked. If you accidentally leave other folders checked elsewhere, you might recover tons of unwanted data. Precision matters. And a quick warning for the CHFI exam listeners, really know the differences between FAT and NTFS, how they store files, handle security, manage deletion. Understanding these is key to interpreting evidence correctly and avoiding wrong answers on the test.
Okay, recovering files and folders is one thing. But what if a suspect deletes entire partitions? It feels like next-level hiding. We need to understand partitions and the master boot record, MBR, first, right? Partitioning just divides a physical disk into logical sections. Standard disks allow up to 4 primary partitions, or 3 primary plus 1 extended partition, which can hold more logical drives. 1 primary partition must be marked active to boot from the drive.
And the heart of this is the master boot record, MBR. It's always in the very first sector of the disk sector of 0. It holds 2 things. The boot code tells the PC how to start the OS,
Right.
and the main partition table describes the partitions where they start and their type. And in EnCase's disk tab, the MBR often looks like a little red square at the start. The partition table itself is in a specific spot, bytes 446 to 509 of the MBR. Exam tip: know the MBR location, sector 0, and those partition table byte offsets 446, 509. It's fundamental.
Besides the raw MBR, how can we see the overall disk layout, the folder structure, in EnCase? Get that bird's eye view. EnCase has a neat feature for that. Right-click the device, the whole disk image in the Entries tab, choose Bookmark folder structure, make sure Include Device Information is checked. This creates a summary. Then go to the Bookmarks tab, find the folder information entry, select it, and click the Report tab in the view pane below. You'll get detailed disk geometry and a folder structure layout. Great overview.
Now, recovering deleted partitions. Criminals use tools like FDISK or diskpart to delete them. This usually just zeroes out bytes 446509 in the MBR, erasing the map to the partition, makes it invisible to the OS, but often the volume boot record, VBR, survives. The VBR is specific to that partition, usually found at sector 63 of the disk, or the first sector of the partition itself. It holds info about the partition's file system.
So MBR partition info gone, but VBR is still there. How do you use that in EnCase to bring the partition back?
This is classic EnCase recovery. Add the evidence file disk. Go to the disk tab, navigate to sector 63. The VBR of a deleted partition often shows up in a different color, like light red or pink. That color change signals EnCase sees a potential partition start. Right-click that sector, select Add Partition, and choose the file system type, NTFS, FAT32, etc. If it works, EnCase rebuilds the partition entry, and boom, the partition reappears, files and folders accessible. If there are multiple deleted partitions, you can use nscripts like Partition Finder to scan for VBRs and list potential partitions in your bookmarks. It's like finding the blueprint for a walled-off room.
That's powerful stuff. But what if suspects try to hide files by renaming them? Like renaming secrets.docs to kernel32.dll. How do you catch that?
That's where signature analysis is absolutely vital. Relying only on file extensions is dangerous. Savvy users rename files all the time to hide things. Signature analysis ignores the extension. It looks at the file's header, the first few bytes inside the file. These bytes, sometimes called magic numbers, identify the actual file type far more reliably. A JPEG has a specific header, a Word doc has a different one, a system file on another. EnCase searches for these known signatures and flags mismatches where the extension says one thing, like .dl, but the header says it's actually something else, like a JPEG. Warning: signature analysis is critical. You must understand and use it.
So how does EnCase show you these mismatches? You run the analysis, tools, search HL file signatures, usually best to run on all media. When EnCase finds a mismatch, it puts a clear asterisk in the signature column in the table pane for that file. And importantly, it usually lists the correct file type it identified from the header in another column. So you immediately see, oh, this file called system.dat is actually a PNG image. The gallery tab is then great for visually confirming disguised images. Okay, we've done the hard analysis work. Now it's about presenting findings and recovering specific things like emails. First, just copying files out of the evidence. Copying needed files is pretty straightforward. Main thing is making sure you have enough space on your destination drive. Add the evidence, navigate to the file folder in entries, right-click, copy files folders. We'll highlight. You can copy whole drives or specific items. If picking specific things, make sure to check copy only selected files so you don't get everything, confirm paths, and EnCase copies them out.
And speaking of key evidence, email is huge in digital investigations. So often, the crucial conversations, plans, incriminating statements, they're right there in emails. Suspects often forget how much they reveal. EnCase, especially version 5 and later, has really strong email recovery. It can parse Outlook.pst files, OutlookExpress.dbx files, standard Linux, Unix inbox formats. It can even often recover webmail from browser caches, Yahoo, AOL, Hotmail. You start an email internet search from the web cache tab, choose which browsers and mail types to look for.
And when it finds emails, how are they displayed? Is it easy to read?
Very easy. Results show up in the table pane in clear columns. You get about 15 fields parsed out automatically. Subject to, from CC, BCC attachment, center C dates and times. Makes it super efficient to scan, sort, and find the important messages quickly, like a searchable archive.
After all this analysis, the final step is the formal report. What does EnCase offer to help create those professional, legally sound reports? Reporting is core for a CHFI. EnCase helps in a couple of ways. The most common is reporting based on your bookmarks. Everything you bookmarked can be pulled into the report. You can preview it using the Report tab under Bookmarks. Then print, print, or export, right-click -export.
Alternatively, NScripts can automate parts of reporting. The initialize case script, for example, can grab tons of system info drive geometry, users, software shares, and populate report fields automatically. Gives you a great starting point. And remember, reports need to be accurate and concise. If you decide a bookmarked item isn't relevant for the final report, you can go to the Table tab, select it, and hit Delete. This just hides from the report view. If Show Delete is off, it doesn't delete it from the evidence. You can always bring it back later. Keeps the report focused.
One last thing, images found in web browser caches, like from Internet Explorer. Not directly downloaded, but still potentially important.
Absolutely. Suspects might view illicit images online without saving them, but they can linger in the browser cache. EnCase is good at finding these. After running a web cache search, check the Gallery tab. It displays found images, including cached ones, as thumbnails. Easy to review visually. If you find relevant cached images, just bookmark them like any other evidence to include them in your report. Helps reconstruct online activity.
Wow, what a comprehensive tour of EnCase. It's incredibly clear this isn't just software, it's a whole methodology for digital forensics. EnCase really stands out as a cornerstone tool, widely used, deeply respected.
It truly is. And central to using it, or any forensic tool, is that commitment to evidence integrity in the chain of custody. Making those bitstream copies, the evidence files, is non-negotiable. It's about ensuring the evidence is trustworthy and admissible. That's the bedrock.
And EnCase provides those layers of verification, CRC and MD5 hashing. We talked about how they work together to ensure integrity, and while hashing evolves, their combined practical strength remains incredibly high for verifying identical data.
Then there are the flexible acquisition methods. DOS, Linux Live CDs, hardware write blockers, network acquisitions. Choosing the right method and taking precautions, like getting the HPA and ensuring read-only access, is fundamental to getting a complete sound image.
We also walk through mastering the interface, the tree, table, view, and filter panes, understanding that Cockpit is key to navigating efficiently through potentially huge amounts of data.
And that efficiency carries into searching and organizing. The power of keywords, case level and global, combined with systematic bookmarking, turns that data mountain into structured, actionable intelligence ready for reporting.
Plus the power to recover the unseen deleted files, folders, even whole partitions using MBR-VBR knowledge, understanding FAT versus NTFS. That's where digital archaeology really happens.
And crucially, detecting deception through signature analysis. Catching those renamed files is vital so evidence isn't missed just because an extension was changed.
Finally, the robust reporting features tie it all together. allowing investigators to present their findings clearly, ethically, and effectively, whether the evidence points towards guilt or innocence. This deep dive really shows EnCase's depth. Mastering tools like this is definitely an ongoing journey, especially as tech keeps changing. But hopefully, this gives you, our listener, a really solid foundation for your CHFI path.
Indeed. And maybe something to think about as you continue. As our digital lives get more complex, spread across clouds, encrypted, what new challenges will forensic investigators face in establishing that crucial digital chain of custody, improving integrity in the years ahead? It's a fascinating question for the future of this field.